Hey guys, good morning. My name is Lucas. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Hololink, and I'm super proud to announce that today we are live on Product Hunt. So for those of you who don't know, Product Hunt is essentially sort of like Reddit for software products. So it's a website where cool software products like ours can go and launch their product and then try to get the community to upvote. So that's what the focus of today is, to get as many upvotes on Product Hunt as possible. And that's also why we are live streaming here to LinkedIn. So I think before we get into anything else, I just want to show you how to actually go and vote for us. So let's see if I. So a lot of you have probably received an email where you can go and see the link to vote for us. For the rest of us, let's see. I'm going to share my screen here. There we go. And then you need to go to producthunt.com. There we go. And then just search for Hololink. And then you should be able to see us. Let's see. There you go. So you search for Hololink, go on the launches and click on Hololink. And then all we need you to do is to click on upvote. As you can see, I've already done it. 7 others have already, but we need a lot more. So please help us get a successful Product Hunt launch by going to Product Hunt and clicking on upvote. And please also help us by sharing this on social media, on LinkedIn, on your Facebook. Get your mom, get your friends, get your family to go in on Product Hunt and upvote us. It means a lot to us. All right, we have a packed program ahead of us today. We are actually going to be live streaming for the next 4 hours. So lots of great content coming up today. I'm going to be kicking off with a presentation on how to create successful augmented reality campaigns and projects. Then in about an hour, I'm going to have Lawrence Pai joining me, who is a user of the Hololink platform, and he runs his own agency out of Singapore. After that, we're going to be playing an interview that I recorded yesterday with my friend Tommy Thor Ibsen. He has another startup called Marionette XR, and we're going to be talking about storytelling through augmented reality. And then afterwards, my colleague Jens will be joining you guys to show you how to create a number of different augmented reality experiences using the Hololink platform. So we got a tight program for you guys today, but we're doing all of this to get as many upvotes on Product Hunt as possible. So thanks for staying with us, and I'm gonna take a short break and then be right back. Thank you. See you in a bit. All right, I'm back, and now we're going to be talking about creating interactive AR experiences. Um, so in this talk, I want to talk about the effects of augmented reality on people and on business. I'm going to be talking about the different types of augmented reality and when to use them, and what to keep in mind when designing augmented reality, when producing augmented reality, and perhaps most importantly, when selling augmented reality projects to clients, and also to colleagues if you are in an in-house marketing department. And then I'm going to be presenting a couple of cases and how to recreate them with Hololink. All right, so let's get started. The effects of augmented reality. If we start by looking at how augmented reality affects people and their brains, this is a study done by Mindshare and NeuroInsights from 2018, where they essentially monitored the brain and how it reacted when experiencing augmented reality versus non-AR equivalents. So when you compare augmented reality to non-AR equivalents, augmented reality has 2 times higher visual engagement. So that means the parts of the brain that is doing the visual processing of the world around us is 2 times more engaged, and the attention is 45% higher when compared to, for example, TV and video. And one thing that I think is the most interesting actually is that the memory encoding is 3 times higher. So that means when a consumer or a person, frankly, experiences something through augmented reality, whether it's some information that they need to remember, for example, in a school or for education, or whether it's a product or a brand. When you're using augmented reality, the parts of the brain that's responsible for memory encoding is 3 times more active. So that means people remember things they have experienced through augmented reality 3 times better. So this is some quite astonishing effects on people. But then when we go on to see how AR can affect the business, you see that AR marketing campaigns convert 94% higher. Campaigns incorporating AR create 300% more brand awareness, and people spend up to 50% spends more than 2 minutes in AR experiences. So it's quite effective for marketing and for the business, and that naturally translates to the market for AR advertising, which currently is growing at almost 40% year over year. So that's a quite fast and astonishing growth for a new or relatively new marketing medium. And when we look at the businesses who actually incorporate augmented reality, 80% of them gets increased sales. 60% of e-commerce brands sees AR as an essential marketing channel, and 92% of Gen Z wants to use augmented reality. So it's quite a rapidly growing market, with a lot of demand, especially from the younger generations. So what can augmented reality as a medium offer that other mediums can't? Or sort of what are the superpowers of AR essentially? Well, first of all, augmented reality is 3-dimensional, so that means the user is in control of the camera, so they can move it around, for example, a virtual object, and give them that like feeling of the object or the product actually being there. For example, if you're doing sorry, a car advertisement, then you actually have the opportunity to almost like place the car in full size right in front of the user in their own home or in their own driveway. Um, but it's not only three-dimensional, it's also contextual. So that means, for example, with our new feature in Hololink, with location triggers, you can actually place an AI experience at a specific GPS location. So that means the digital experience and the real world is tightly connected. Um, and this is quite different from, for example, social media like TikTok, for example. On TikTok, you can be watching a video or something that happened on the other side of the globe, and the time and the location where you view this content, it can be completely independent uh, from where the creator intended you to experience it. For example, if you watch a big blockbuster Netflix movie on your phone, that was probably intended to be watched in a cinema where you're fully focused on the content and the experience. Um, but with augmented reality, you actually have the opportunity to place the content at exactly where you want it to be in the real world. So besides augmented reality being three-dimensional, contextual, it's also interactive. So that means you can both interact with the content. For example, in HoloLink, you can create actions that are triggered when you click on objects, or after a timer runs out, or after you enter a location. Um, so you can not only interact with the content by clicking on it, but you can also interact with it by moving the camera around. So essentially, you become the camera guy. Um, and the fourth point that I want to point out is, with augmented reality, you essentially have an infinite digital canvas. So that means there's no limitation to how much information you can put, for example, on a business card or on a product packaging, um, because the canvas becomes so much bigger when you're using augmented reality. All right, then I want to talk a bit about the different types of augmented reality and when to use them. The first one I want to talk about is image tracking. So what I mean by that is content that is on a specific physical object. Uh, Here you see an example where it's the augmented reality content is placed on this milk carton. So it can be essentially any printed surface can be turned into an interactive digital media channel. So that goes for magazines, newspapers, print ads, business cards, flyers, roll-ups, posters, even billboards. Anything that you can print, you can also augment and turn into a digital media channel. So that means, for example, the next time that your company is going to a business conference, and you might have a booth there, then instead of just having a normal static roll-up with your logo and maybe an image of your product, instead of that, you could also add a QR code, and then when people scan that, the entire roll-up essentially becomes alive. Um, or it could be if you have a product like, for example, here the milk carton, you can turn that into a media channel, and that's probably the most overlooked media channel in a lot of in a lot of B2C businesses, because think about, for example, how many milk cartons that a Danish company like Arla puts out every day. And then compare that to how many ads they put in, for example, out of home around the city. So the product is actually one of the, like, the product packaging is actually oftentimes one of the most underutilized um, media channels that any B2C company has. All right, I'm just gonna get a bit of coffee before I move on to the last bit, which is point of sale materials. Now we talked a bit about milk, which is oftentimes sold in supermarkets, and in supermarkets you oftentimes have a lot of signs and other point of sale material, and augmenting that with augmented reality to turn them into, for example, an interactive treasure hunt, where you get the consumers to move around the supermarket, is a great use case, and it could even be a way to make shopping even more interesting for kids. So the parents can finally get the peace and quietness they need to actually do their shopping, if the kids can be fully engaged in an AR treasure hunt instead. So that's the first one, image tracking, which is augmented reality on a specific physical object. The second type of augmented reality that I want to talk about is surface tracking, which is about placing content on the floor, essentially. So here you can see, this is the car example, where I'm actually able to see the car in full size, but I can also make it smaller, so it might fit in my living room. And surface tracking is a great use case for example, showcasing products in their full size, for trying cars, for visiting buildings and locations, and essentially think of surface tracking as a way to place your product right in front of the user when they want to see it digitally. Okay, and then I want to talk about 360 tracking, which, instead of tracking on the floor with 360, you are tracking via the user, where the user is pointing their phone. So, for example, it could be for when you want to try a car, you can look around, almost feel like you're sitting inside the car. It could be for portals. You could make an AR experience where you are able to travel to different locations. It could be for visiting buildings and stores. It's a great way to essentially make a pop-up branded store around the user. So think of 360 tracking as content that appears around the user. And here's an example with the car. All right, moving on to location triggers. And this is what I talked about earlier. Content placed via GPS. So this is great for city walks, when, for example, tourists are exploring a city, could be Copenhagen, and then being able to trigger different content depending on where the user goes. So you could have several 360 AI experiences that are triggered when the user reaches a destination. It could be a big city landmark. It could be a church or a building. And location triggers is also a great way of geo-fencing content. So you could say, for example, this prize in this digital competition is only available at any of the stores that we have if you're a retail chain, for example, then your customers would need to go into your physical store in order to to get the price or to see the AI experience. Um, and that also leads me to what I call outdoor competitions. So that would be, for example, if you are running an out of home campaign with posters all around the city, and then based on the GPS location of the poster, you could say, when you're in this location, you can win something or you can see some exclusive content, and if you're not, you won't be able to see it. So it's another way of anchoring content to a specific location via GPS in the phone. And by the way, this is of course also running in the browser, so still no need to download any apps. Um, okay, so a quick summary of the different types of AR. Um, if we start on the left, in the real world with a very specific location, with image tracking, um, it's it's anchored to a very precise thing in the real world. It could be, as I said, a poster, a business card, a flyer, even a billboard, but it's on that specific location of the printed thing, whatever it is. Then moving a bit more to the right, we have location triggers, which is triggered by GPS. And as a rule of thumb, GPS is precise down to 10 to 30 meters. So I would actually more call it like an area where the content is visible or accessible. Then in the middle, I've placed surface tracking, which is placing, for example, a car on the floor. You don't know which surface you're placing it on, so it could be a table, it could be the floor, it could be even walls. But it's just any surface. So that's why I've sort of like put in the middle of the real world and the digital world. Then moving a bit more towards the digital world, we have 360 tracking, which is content placed around the user. Um, so the context is that we know in which direction the user is pointing their phone, but we don't know where they are, and we don't know whether they are standing up or sitting down. We just know that the content is like floating in front of them. And this is a great type of AR for experiences that should be accessible in a lot of places. So, for example, if you're sending out an augmented reality experience via a newsletter, via email, then you want that AR experience to be accessible wherever the user is. So then 360 tracking is a great way of doing that, because you're not depending on the user being somewhere in a situation where they can, for example, go and scan the floor and place the content on the floor with surface tracking. And then all the way on the right, we have what we at least call static scenes. So that's 3D content that is anchored to the screen. So you're not using the sensors of the phone to know where they're looking. You're not even using the camera. You're just placing 3D content for the user to manipulate. And this is technically not really AR, but it's a great add-on to an AR experience that might use, for example, image tracking, where the user is scanning an image and something is appearing from the image, and then the user could be able to bring the content with them by anchoring it on the screen. So yeah, a summary of the different types of augmented reality, from things that are placed very specifically and is tightly connected to the real world with image tracking, all the way to static scenes, which essentially don't really have a connection to the real world, but is just using the 3D part of AR. All right. Then moving on to tips for creating augmented reality experiences. Um, so, what to keep in mind when designing augmented reality? I would say the number one starting point for really any business creative is to start with a problem, and ideally start with the end customer's problem. So, an example of that could be it could be tourists are coming to Copenhagen, and they don't have a way to find information around the city when they need it. Um, so that's the consumer's problem. And then you could have a business problem that could be, let's say, uh, some some business that wants to have a greater presence in Copenhagen, and they want to target tourists. Then the solution could be an AR city walk experience that helps the consumers by learning about new things around Copenhagen, and it would help the business by solving a problem for the consumers. So I hope that makes sense. Like that, you're essentially starting with the consumer's problem, and then you're using that to also solve the business problem. Because if you are taking some of the consumer's attention or time uh, with an advertisement, you should make sure that you give something back to the consumer of value. All right. So that's, I would say, the starting point. Then my second point here is you should always use at least one of the superpowers of augmented reality. Use the fact that the content is three-dimensional, that it's interactive, that it's anchored to a context in the real world, or that you're able to expand the canvas. And speaking of the canvas, that could be, for example, the product packaging of medicine. If you tried taking any kind of medication, you'll see that there's an awful lot of text on the product packaging oftentimes. But if you put that information into an augmented reality experience, through interactivity and through being able to use other mediums like video and 3D content, you could essentially place a lot more information on that limited, confined space of the product packaging. All right. So always start with the consumer's problem. Use at least one of the superpowers of AR, and then please keep the recipient's situation in mind. So what I mean by that is, for example, don't create an AI experience that's intended to be viewed when people are commuting, for example, on trains, where they can't really move around. So don't create an AI experience that uses, for example, surface tracking, where they need to be able to stand up and walk around the AR content if the AR content is intended to be accessed in a situation where they can't move around, or in a situation where they can't turn on the sound because they're in a public space, or in a situation where maybe the AI experience is intended to be viewed, for example, at home. And then it's great to use, for example, surface tracking and creating for example, a portal where you want the user to stand up and walk into a portal and then experience a new world and then go back out into the real world. If the AI experience is intended to be viewed at home, where people can move around, then it's a great idea. But always keep the recipient or the user's situation in mind when designing AI. And then I think the fourth point, which is probably the most important for the AI experience to be successful, um, you need to think about what happens before the AI experience. So, how do people scan a QR code to get started? Do they click a link to get started? Or maybe do they see a video on social media, on Instagram or TikTok, and then there's a link there to get started? So think about where do you where does the user uh, click to open the AI experience, and then also think about what happens before that. So uh, how do you explain the benefits of engaging with the AI experience to the consumer before they have clicked the link? Because frankly, people don't just click link or scan QR codes uh, wherever they see it. So you need to explain the benefits and what happens after the click in order to get them to click. So to summarize, when designing augmented reality, always start with a problem, ideally the consumer's problem, because if you solve their problem, you have the permission to also solve a business problem. Two, use at least one of the superpowers of augmented reality. If you're not, then don't bother with using AR. Then just create a video for SoMe instead. Um, Third, keep the recipient's situation in mind. So, you know, empathize with the person that you want to engage with this AI experience. Where are they? What are they doing? What can they do? What can't they do? And then fourth, remember that it starts before the AI experience. How do they access it? Why should they access it? How do you explain what it is? People don't just click on links or scan QR codes just because you mention augmented reality. I hope this makes sense. um, so, moving on to a couple of tips when producing augmented reality. First of all, it doesn't have to be 3D. Oftentimes, you can get away with just using whatever content that the brand or the business already has. So you could take a video and then using image tracking, place it on a product so the product comes alive through augmented reality. Or you can use like images and icons and graphics from the company. So it doesn't have to be 3D. Of course, it's cool when it's 3D, but that shouldn't be a limitation, essentially. Then make sure that you make it interactive in order to get the full benefits of AI. That can either be in the form of using the fact that the user can move their phone around, for example, for image tracking, or for a 360 experience where the user can look around inside of the sphere or the experience to, for example, find different things. Um, and then third, think of it sort of like a game. Like, what should the user do? How do you onboard them? What's their goal? Think about like the whole user journey. So yeah. Uh, so I would say these are my three main tips to keep in mind when you're producing AR. It doesn't have to be 3D. Make sure that it's interactive, and think of it like a game. Think about why the user is there. What are they trying to accomplish? How can you help them accomplish that? And also, how do you onboard them to the AI experience? All right. And then on to what to keep in mind when selling augmented reality. First of all, make sure that you don't overpromise. Make sure that you can actually deliver what you and the client dream up together. Ideally, go into the sales pitch with a prototype. Of course, make sure that you know what your client is trying to accomplish first, but then oftentimes for the second meeting, go into the meeting with a prototype. It builds confidence for the client that you can actually deliver, and it also gives you something to talk from instead of just like a PowerPoint or a mockup or whatever. And then remember that people don't buy technology, they buy solutions. So focus on solving a problem and offering a valuable experience. Don't just use the newest virtual positioning system, AR tech that might sound cool and it's maybe something new, but if it doesn't solve a problem, then no one will really care. And third, remember that your customer doesn't know about AR, so make sure that it's easily understandable. And that ties back to my point around having a prototype. And yeah, that's also the fourth point. Prototypes builds confidence and closes sales. If you can show a prototype in the sales meeting, no matter how simple it is, you'll have a much higher chance of actually making the sale. All right, so I have a couple of cases for you guys, but before I go into that, for any newcomers onto this stream, I just wanted to say hello and welcome. And the reason why we're hosting this stream today is because Hololink is live on Product Hunt. So let's just take a moment and see how that is actually going. So if you go to producthunt.com and search for Hololink, you can find us here, and now we actually have 12 upvotes. So that's 5 more than when we started, or when I started the stream. So thank you very much for helping us get more votes, and also make sure that you share it with your network or anyone who might be interested in creating interactive AR experiences for the web. All right, so with that being said, I've brought a couple of cases that has at least inspired me. So let's see here. The first case that I brought is one that Nike did called Nike Air Clouds. And yeah, let's just watch the case video.
That cloud looks like a duck. There's a horsey. And that one looks like
a Nike sneaker. Since day one, Air Max made everyone see and feel the air. So to drop the 2020 models, we launched an airborne augmented reality e-commerce experience where shoppers could buy brand new sneakers from thin air, directly from cloud storage. This is Nike Air Max Cloud. Since sneakerheads were stuck at home due to lockdown, we transformed their windows into a Nike shop window. People simply had to access Nike.com, point their phone to the sky, and find virtual cloud versions of Air Max 90 and 2090. These digital folders allowed sneakerheads to buy drops in firsthand and watch product demos in the form of new music videos from Brazilian rap icon Djonga and funk superstars MC Sophia and NGKS, among other exclusive surprises. For 2 weeks straight, the forecast was a sky filled with cloud-shaped sneakers and a high chance of exclusive rain of exclusive content into Brazilians' phones and even into the phones of sneakerheads across the globe.
Aponta seu celular para o céu. Bora! Vou lançar esse tênis aí. Aí só dá o play.
Ela quebra fogo, ela quebra fogo, ela quebra fogo. The Air Max Max Cloud brought relevant cultural entertainment to a digital shopping experience. When sneakerheads were in lockdown, we unlocked up, turning air into a safe and interactive medium for creativity and an ongoing platform for digital Air Max drops.
All right. So how to recreate that with Hololink? Well, let me show you. And for those of you who haven't used Hololink yet, you can just go to hololink.io, our website, and either you can book a demo with me, or you can just go and log in and sign up for a free profile. All right. So when you first get into the platform, you see all of your AI experiences, and yes, we're going to be getting back to this case with Burger King in just a minute. But before we do so, let's create a new one that we'll call Nike Air Clouds. All right, and hit create. And then here you can choose which scene type for the first scene. For this AI experience, we want to place the content, the clouds, above the user. We don't want to be tracking the surface or any image. We just want them to be floating above the user. So I'm going to be creating a 360 scene. And then you can see here, this is the user. This is the direction that they're going to be starting looking at. So when they open it on their phone, they're going to see this. And we haven't placed anything, so they will just see the camera feed. So let's change that by getting some clouds in. Over here, we can add 3D content from the 3D library, either from the standard library if you uploaded something, or from a Sketchfab. And for this one, we're just going to go to Sketchfab, which is a library of tens of thousands of 3D models, and just search for cloud and hit enter. Let's see. Let me just try again. Let's see. Cloud. This looks about right. And I'm gonna take the fluffy cloud. And now it's inserting it into my scene. And you can see it's pretty white. So it's kind of hard to see on this white background. So let's just, for this demo, I'm gonna add a 360 image in the background, just so we can see our clouds actually. And what about Miami Beach, for example? So now you can see our cloud is right here. I can scale it up to, let's say, 4 or 5, no, 10 maybe. And then I can go to view it from the user's perspective by clicking here. And there we go. Now we have our cloud, and we can make it clickable. So for example, when the user clicks on it, it changes scene or goes to an external URL, or even takes a screenshot. And I can also animate it either with just a simple animation like this, where I'm just stretching it like that, or I can create a more advanced animation down here. So that's basically the foundation for creating that kind of AI experience. And later today, my colleague Jens will be taking you through more examples of creating interactive AI experiences with the platform. All right, so that was a very short version of the Nike Air Clouds campaign. Whoops. Here is one of my personal favorites, which is a campaign that Burger King did a couple of years ago, where they essentially used augmented reality to enable their customers to burn their competitors' ads. And Burger King's biggest competitor is, of course, McDonald's. So let's just, I think we have a case study here. There we go.
Deixa eu ver. Eita, mano. Umas ideias, velho.
All right. So how can you actually recreate something like this with Hololink? Well, I'll show you. Let's see. Let's just leave that. All right, so I'm gonna open this project instead, and let's see here. I have actually just 3 scenes, and I've added a anchor image, which is this one. So in the first scene, I have just a video playing on top of the image, and then I've added a timer. So after 6 seconds, it changes scene to this one. So let's see what's in that. So here we just have an image that has been added on top, and then when the user clicks on let's see on this button in the interface, you can see click and get a free burger. It changes scene to this one, and here let's see, we have a burger coming out of the ad that is animated using our platform. It's quite simple. And then here we could easily, for example, let's say we add an automatic action. So let's say after a couple of seconds, 5 seconds or whatever, it opens a URL, and it opens that in an iframe, and then in that iframe we could add the coupon to get the free burger. So this is essentially like the basis of how you could recreate a campaign, like burn that ad from Burger King using the Hololink platform. And I think this could be a prototype like this could be done in like half an hour or something tops. By the way, for those of you who has been using the platform for a while, you'll see there's actually a new feature in here, which is now you can actually see the total size of your Hololink up here. So when a consumer is accessing this AI experience, they will be downloading not downloading, they will be streaming the assets from the AI experience, and you can see the total size of those up here. So that gives you an idea about how long it's going to take to load the AI experience. This one will probably load in 1 second or something. All right, so let's see what other cases we have here. This is actually one that we did ourselves for Copenhagen Visitor Center. Copenhagen has gotten selected as the world capital of architecture. So we created an AI experience for Copenhagen Visitor Center where people could scan a QR code and open the AI experience on their phone in their browser. And then they could point at different sections of the map. For example, this is Karen Blixen's and Blocks, which is another architectural landmark of Copenhagen, to get a bit more information about those parts. But then they could also click on them and actually get transported there. So this is a combination of image tracking, which we see here, and 360 tracking, which is what we see here, where we've placed a 360 image as like a backdrop to the content that we've placed in the AI scene. All right, so that's all for my talk. In a couple of minutes, we're gonna have Lawrence Pye joining us, who is one of the users of the Hololink platform. But before we do that, let's just have another look at our product hunt launch, because at the end of the day, that is why we're doing all of this. So I'm going to go to product hunt and hit search, find Hololink. There we go. Let's see, under launches. Oh, and we actually, hey, we got 2 extra upvotes, so thanks for that. Let's see, we got some comments as well. Thanks, Martin. Yeah, you should check out Martin Elnev as well. He has a really cool platform called Hey Neighbor, where he's trying to make more communities within housing. So, but I'm gonna take a short 1-minute break, and then we'll be right back with Lawrence Pye, a longtime user of the Hololink platform, yeah, I think that's going to be a really exciting conversation. So stay tuned. I'll see you in 1 minute. All right, we are back, and I'm proud to introduce dare I say a friend of Hololink, Lawrence Pye. Hey, Lawrence. I don't think we can hear you. Let's see.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
I'm sorry. Okay, once again, thanks for having me. Is there echo or something?
There might be a slight echo. Let me bring on my headphones to make it a bit better. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thanks.
Nice. Let me just plug in the headphones.
Oh,
There we go.
Yeah, I'd like to share with you event last Friday that we use Hololink platform to engage the customers. If you give me probably 2 minutes, I can show you a PowerPoint presentation and some video. There's probably 2 minutes. Yeah, if you don't mind. Okay, let me get it set up. Okay, share a screen. How do I share a screen? Okay. Okay, let me get the PowerPoint running. Okay, so this is an event that we had last Friday. It's called Love the Last March, and it's the world longest sculpture, and it's now on display in Singapore, Garden by the Bay, for a year. Okay, and this is the local newspaper presenting the sculpture and so on. You see, it's May 22nd. It's still hot from press. And let's look at this video.
Love the Last March, a sculpture that includes animals of the land, air, and sea. It also includes a formative digital experience and is a whopping 100 meters long. But the most important thing, conservation.
Okay, so actually, if you see here, they actually have this put up, and we are actually using Hololink's platform to engage the visitors to this culture. So when you scan the QR code, you can see the interaction, which is pretty good, and they are very very happy. The customer is very very happy with this experience. Let me show you how it looks like. Oh, oh, I'm sorry. There's no sound for this.
This is super nice. Do you have
Yeah.
any idea of how many have actually engaged with this AI experience?
Oh, I have yet to turn out a report for the customers. It's not due until Friday this week, so I have not really looked at the numbers yet.
Okay,
So I would think on the first day itself, there's a lot of people engaging this. Yeah,
nice,
yeah, this is a very nice, and they're very very happy with this this display here. Oh, okay, that's all for me. But
nice. But
basically, we are very happy that we can use the Hololink, and which is so simple to use, and so it's we can just get this campaign out and running within probably less than a month. Although we've been talking about it for many months. Yeah. Yeah.
nice. And Lawrence, how did this collaboration between you and the client come? Like, how did this start?
Oh, it started actually October last year, or
Okay.
was it? I think it was much earlier. So the two artists that is responsible for this conservation effort for endangered species, they came to Singapore and they actually looked at me, and we had a few session talking, and then eventually I showed them what HoloLink can do, and they are
Mm,
very happy with it. Yeah. So from the start, we already testing a HoloLink. So we only actually did it for a few months, or rather, is it 1 month actually? The final product came in 1 month. Of course, Lucas, thanks to your team for also helping and giving some ideas. So it's not just using your platform, but also we can expect some support from your side, especially on ideas on how to use your platform. Yeah, that's very important. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's something I really try to do with all of our clients and users, because augmented reality is a new medium, and you've been working with AR for quite a bit of time now. Actually, how long is it that you've been working with
Oh, I
augmented reality?
started doing AI in 2016. So this is my how many years? 8 years or 7 years? Yeah. And then from the beginning, it's mainly app based because that was how Pokemon came about on based on ads. And web AI is quite relatively new. And
Mm,
then when I touch upon your platform, I think HoloLink is one of the easiest and the best to use. I would think. Yeah. The learning curve is not so steep actually.
mm. Yeah, and you tried a lot of AR platforms as far as I know, right?
Oh yes, yes, I tried the one from Italy and all. Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what would you say? Um, what does it mean that now augmented reality is web based? How does that
I
change
I think
things?
from my experience, it seems most people doesn't want to download apps. If let's say the AI experiences is only like a couple of minutes, so it
Mm,
will not probably take even 30 seconds to download and install apps, AR apps, in order to have only a couple of second kind of interaction. So web based AR or web AR will be probably the way to go. It's really frictionless in terms of the engagement. Yeah. I believe going forward, web AR will be the one, and app AR will still be there, but I think it's more for a specific use case,
mm,
especially for companies that want to engage their visitor or rather their user for long term. Maybe in a shopping center when they have their shopping center apps, and then they have AR embedded and so on. Yeah. So
mm.
web AR will be the way to go there.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. And what do you see going forward? Like, what kinds of AI experiences will you be creating with Hololink for the next couple of months? Can you
Okay,
say
so
anything about that?
yeah, as you will share with me, you have a lot of new feature coming out.
Mm,
So like model viewer, geofencing, geofencing almost like Pokemon, where it's GPS location based
mm,
services. Uh, multi image tracking and so on. All those are very important features that web AI should have, and I'm very confident that you will get all these features out very soon, and then we can all use it.
Yeah, yeah.
And still waiting for it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and for those of you listening, Lawrence has actually been getting early access to a lot of these features because you've been using the platform for quite a while. For example, with the location triggers, which is a feature that we launched last week, what types of AI experiences does that allow you to do that you couldn't do before?
Oh, okay. So like this location-based, there's many names. Somebody call geo-facing, and somebody else will call it GPS or location-based service. So for one thing, you can actually do treasure hunt. So you can activate the AI campaign, and as you walk along in say Universal Studio or something, and then you can something will pop up, the AR experience pop up, and you can take a photograph or you can play a game. So those are very important experience to the user. So it's not just the place now. So all the places are now dotted with virtual interaction, and those experiences are very important, especially for people who runs a park or runs a place, and they can enhance the visitors experience.
Yeah.
So I think all this geofencing or we call location based is very important. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. And you've been quite successful in like selling these AI experiences to clients for several years now. Do you have any like tips for our listeners on this stream for how to actually uh,
Oh, okay.
convince? Yeah.
Yeah, I find that AR, although is coming mainstream, but a lot of people doesn't understand what AR is, and most important is to do a demo, I suppose.
Yeah.
You if you can create a simple experience and AR experience and show it to them, they will understand immediately what is possible with AR. So a demo is probably very important. Yeah, and with
Okay.
the Hololink, it's very easy to create a demo, a simple one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's most like it's a probably what half an hour job the most, and you can get it up and running. Yeah.
And when in the sort of like sales process do you create the demo? Do you create a demo before the first meeting or after the first meeting?
Oh, it's usually after the first meeting because we probably on the first meeting we want to understand what is the requirement,
Hmm?
and then from what they wanted, and you create a demo. You can actually when you share the demo with them, they will actually tell you is it exactly what they want, or they can give you more. They will give you more information on what they wanted, and you can actually alter the demo again, and so that you satisfy them. You see? Yeah. So the demo will become a center point and centerpiece of collaboration. So they will know. And most of the time, for AR we are vertical, so we are B2B2C kind or B2B2B kind of businesses. So the business that call us or the client that engage us, they are actually selling add-on. They add on AR to their other services. Okay. So, so I think it's very important that we can collaborate together so that we can sell to to their clients. Yeah.
And since you started using Hololink, where you can now create a fully functional demo, you said in half an hour, uh, how has that changed like your closing rate, like the amount of sales that you're able to close for your business?
It's typically much faster than before because with the app base, it's always the same few demo. It's not easy to set up a demo with app base, you see. So it's actually much faster. Uh, of course, uh, it would have been better if the economy outlook in Singapore is looking better. If not, then it would have been better. Yeah,
Yeah.
business wide. Yeah.
Okay. No, but can you like put a number on it, like how?
Say maybe at least 20% better now.
Okay.
At
Okay.
least, yeah.
Okay. Nice. Well, That's quite a nice number. We should get that on the website as well. close, close 20% more deals with Hololink. Cool. And what would you say is we are both like following what's happening in the AR space? Are there anything like on the horizon that you're excited about that is coming up?
Well, I'm not sure, but I've been following your HoloLink, so I was expecting whatever that is coming out from HoloLink. That's why I'm expecting.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to all the new features and so on. Yeah, the HoloLink can bring. So yeah, so how long am I going to get the new stuff? New
Yeah,
features.
yeah. Well, I can ensure you that we have a lot of developers who are working really hard on
Yeah.
on
Well, you
making
can
new
always
things.
use me as a test, tester or whatever you call it, beta tester, and I'm very happy to help you test it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think we're going to be testing many more features from here on, and hopefully in return we can keep that number up of 20% more sales from using the HoloLink platform. Um, Thank you very much for joining me here, Lawrence. And I think
Thank-
this is a great partnership that we have going, and I'm really excited about all of the things that we're going to be doing in the future. Um, so thanks for joining,
Thank
and
you, Lucas. Yeah. Okay, bye. See you.
see you, bye. um, and now let's go check on that product hunt launch once more before I air the clip that I recorded yesterday with Tommy Thor Ibsen about how to create effective AR storytelling. So let's see here. Let's go search for Hololink on Product Hunt and see how we're doing on upvotes. Sorry, this is the wrong one. There we go. New launch? No. Sorry about this. Here you go. Should be here. Anyways, I think it's because I'm seeing a different view because it's our launch. But anyways, make sure that you go on producthunt.com to sign up if you don't have a user already, and search for Hololink and give us an upvote. It really means a lot to us. And while you do that, I'm just going to prepare the next clip that we have with Tommy Thor Ibsen, where we're going to be talking about creating effective storytelling through augmented reality. So go vote for us on Product Hunt. I'll prepare the clip and play it in about 1 minute. See you in a bit. Bye. Yes. Hello, my name is Lucas. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Hololink, and I'm joined here today by Tommy Thor Ibsen, CEO and co-founder of Marionette XR, for a quick talk about augmented reality, what it can do as a medium, and where it's headed in the future. And the reason why I'm coming to you today is because, as I've probably said many times today, is Hololink is now live on Product Hunt. So please go and vote for us and help us get that product of the day. Now, I'm joined by an old friend of mine, dare I say, Tommy. We've had many conversations about AR, VR, the future of storytelling. But tell me, how did you originally got started in VR and AR?
Yes, thank you, Lucas, and great to be here. We have had many talks. That is correct. I started in VR, I guess, because I was curious, and the same thing with AR. And now I'm working with motion capture software, but we can get back to that. But I mean, I think it's very simple, right? Like if you're the type of storyteller who sort of wants more, wants more sort of fantastic reality and more Hollywood effects and more spectacular things that is not of this reality, but in this reality, then it sort of makes sense that you end up in augmented reality. And before that, I've been like working a lot with story and directing some short films and some pilot stuff and VFX storytelling in general. So yeah, it just made sense to end up in augmented reality. And that is then what took me into what I'm doing now, which is motion capture.
Yeah, and just for the listeners here, could you tell a bit more about what it is you're doing now? It's called Marionette XR, and it's something to do with digitizing people, or?
Yeah, I mean it's basically like usually motion capture for a long time has been something very, very expensive, where you needed a big studio or some suits that clings very tight to the body. And with AI and machine learning and stuff, you don't need that anymore. Because I was actually working on an AI animation film where I was annoyed that I couldn't get the motion capture solution that I wanted, that easy enough, and I could just have at my desk, and where I could sort of go in and out of like recording something and still being like working with my computer and going back and forth. And so we ended up just creating our own solution, and that has sort of become my day job now, my full-time employment as the CEO of a startup that does that.
Okay, and just to elaborate a bit, what does motion capture mean?
Well, okay, so very basically it means taking human motion and putting it onto 3D characters. If you look at old Disney movies, for instance, like really like Snow White and The Little Mermaid and stuff like that, you can actually go on YouTube and you can find reference videos for all those where they have actors playing out some of the scenes for inspiration to the animators. And that's really what we're going for. It's really, we want to make that process of having sort of human expression and getting that into an animated expression as fast as possible. So instead of like today, like an animator would sit and just look at a reference video, right, and just frame by frame do the motion. With our solution, that process goes a lot faster, so the animator can use more time on just doing the details of the motion and what really makes it nice and animated. Does that
okay? Yeah. So if you're making the next Pixar movie or something, then when the character is just running, you could just record that or if they're doing a dance or something, then you could just record that part, and then instead of spending your time animating the body movement, you could instead spend your time on animating the face movements or the lighting in the background or something else. Is that?
Yeah, the timing of the movement, the thing that really makes it, it also depends on, like, if you're doing a Pixar movie, you probably want a lot of detail in the movie, whereas if you do, I don't know, like a explainer video, you may not need that much detail. But the whole idea is just that you can take human motion and put it onto a character. So just sort of imagine a mirror, right? It's basically a mirror. So right now I'm sitting here with the webcam, but just imagine that I was a character. That's really what we're doing. It's like we're enabling you to have your webcam and your mobile phone as your mirror for recording your emotions and putting it onto 3D characters that you can then put into different mediums, like, for instance, AR.
Okay, so it's like taking people and putting them into the computer, sort of. Okay,
Yeah, you can do that.
but how can you use that for augmented reality then?
Well, I have always thought that sort of one of the most powerful thing about augmented reality is actually location. Meaning, you can have a location, you can have Times Square, and you own Times Square because you can put a character, whatever, some storytelling element into Times Square, and then you can film it, and you can you can use that wherever you want. So you can basically take any location in the world that you are as a person allowed to go into, and you can put storytelling there, and that's really what I think AR can do. And storytelling, a very, very important part of storytelling is to have a character that sort of interacts with you and tell the story, or characters that interact with each other. So yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes it did you watch the experience that Gorillas did at, I think it was Piccadilly Circus in London or something, where they had the bandmates, the guitar player, for example, and the singer from Gorillas, which is of course a virtual band, so they don't exist. They made huge versions of that and put them on the buildings. Do you think was that done with motion capture?
I don't think so, but maybe some of it was like, because there you want motion that is very sort of had this animated look with like perfect animated timing. And the thing about animation is that it's very hard to reproduce with normal motions, because animation has a special timing that you can't. But how they could have, and where they might have used motion capture, is to get sort of the basic motions. So basically, I would imagine like they would have been able to do that at least. And I know that some studios do that. They use motion capture just as a reference. Basically, as in the old days, you would record a movie and then you would sit and look frame by frame, right? Where today you can record a reference video, and then you can actually just take the data from that and put into a production and then continue with that.
Okay. Yes, you create like the raw material sort of with motion capture.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, cool. And then you also touched on something interesting, which was location-based augmented reality. And this, I feel, is something we've discussed a couple of times, because as I see it, one of the interesting things about augmented reality is you can place storytelling into a context. But of course, if you do a Gorillaz concert at Piccadilly Circus, then it makes a lot of sense that you can create quite an interesting or engaging or captivating experience right at Piccadilly Circus, where there's a lot of people coming by. But that on the contrary, if you're, for example, a marketing agency or a brand, you want to create storytelling that gets experienced by as many people as possible. So actually, you don't want to make it location-based, because you want it to be accessible everywhere, right?
Yes. Oh, definitely. I think it's also that I'm actually not as much talking about things being location-based, more sort of the power of location. Because essentially what, in social media at least, what AI is a video medium. So it's a way that a brand, for instance, can put something into the real world, and then people will record videos with that, and those videos will probably be seen.
So it's not the AI experience itself being shared, it's videos of the AI experience.
Exactly. I think that's probably one of the biggest things is videos of AI experiences. It's actually most of the outcome of AI experiences, in my opinion. And the fact that many people can do it, and that's why I'm saying the power of location. So I can add something if I have content, if I have a character, if I have a musician that is sort of me as a user, I have the possibility to put that in a location that I chose, and then I can record that, and that adds value to, like, that adds my artistic input to this like experience that someone else created that I can then be a part of. It makes me want to share it, and then other people do the same thing.
So AI is really, when you're looking at it like that, AI is really a way of sort of democratizing special effects, because you could have, for example, if you were at Times Square.
Yeah, I agree. Or democratizing storytelling, I would say, because it's not just special effects. It's also you can have characters that interact, and you get to put them wherever. Like, you are the camera person, right? DOP. That's really mostly, as I see, in terms of at least from a commercial point of view, mostly what AI is. It makes the user the DOP of the experience.
Makes the user the camera guy, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. But aren't you then not using AR to its full potential? If you're just using it as a way to, for example, if I wanted to add special effects to my face, I could put an Instagram filter on and have funny bunny ears or whatever. But then I'm just using AR as a production method. It could almost be like a plugin in Premiere Pro or something. I'm not using it to its full extent, where it's an interactive three-dimensional experience that my audience is interacting with.
I mean, of course there is use cases for that, but I think, at least from sort of from a storytelling point of view, it's interesting, right? Because I'm working myself on this AI animation film, where we have sort of tried out different methods of like mechanics for how should you move, and like how much should people stand still, and I think that the interactivity of AR is really that people can move.
It's not being able to click on things and then things happens.
It's no, because I get that on a normal screen, but I have the possibility to see things from again, like, I have the camera. So even now I'm in an experience by myself. I have the experience. It's in the real world. I control where I see things from, and I can move. That's the control I have, right? Because the rest of the control is done by the one who made the experience.
But is now you're talking about you're doing an AR movie, or what did you call it?
An animation film. It's an old project that we actually started with as like before I got into motion capture software. I was working on this AI animation film, like, as a writer and director, and we've just used that really as an R&D project now, where we've just like tried out so many different kinds of how do you interact, how is it cool to like experience a story in AR. What can that medium do that other mediums can't? Because that's also really what it is. Like, why should I not just watch a movie? Why should I look at things through my phone?
Yeah.
And at least what I've come down to is like, it's more like, it's me being able to move. That's really what that medium can do. I decide where I look and where I move.
Yeah. I guess it's that coupled with sort of like game mechanics.
Definitely,
yeah. But do you said you worked in movies before, which many people would probably agree that movies and videos is the default digital medium for storytelling these days. When you look at TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, basically everywhere on the web, the majority of storytelling is being done through video in some form or another. Do you think eventually augmented reality will take over, just like video has taken over from still images?
You know what's and I hate to say something bad about the medium, but you know what's really hard to do with any other medium than a movie? It's really, really hard to lie on your couch together with your girlfriend or your significant other and relax and enjoy something emotional together that is time based, where you have to do nothing.
Yeah.
And that, like, it's competing with that. I think when you come to social media, I don't know, depends on how good the glasses get and stuff, like, but I think the humans are like, we in some way we are very explorative and we want to do, and in some ways we just want to do nothing. And video is like is streaming especially, right? It's very, very good at that.
Yeah. It's like, do you think we'll ever get to binge watching augmented reality or virtual reality? Because, like, for example, the Oculus Quest, the VR goggles from Facebook, a lot of people are calling that drawerware, because it's hardware that you buy and then you play with it and then you put it in the drawer under your closet, in your closet or whatever, and you never think about it again. And now I think the PlayStation just released the VR2 headset recently, or is it coming? I can't remember. But generally, like, VR has been struggling, and I think some of it might be due to what you're saying there, that people just want to consume storytelling. They don't want to interact with it.
Yeah, I mean, they might want to interact if it's of a certain more erotic nature. But besides that, I think, again, yes, but then it's like play a game, as you say. Like, then it's basically then it's a game, just a game, right? And again, like, then you go into, why am I not sitting in front of my computer with my mouse and playing a game? Why am I doing it in AR? And that again comes back to, well, I can walk around. It's motion. It's all about motion. Like, you as a, like, you can walk around and you decide where you look at things. And where you, like, so investigation, like escape the room games are gonna be more fun in in like in AR, right? Because you can just, like, load it up in a reality. It's very, very easy to move if your headset is very nice and stuff. So it's, I mean, certain experiences, I don't think it's gonna replace the video necessarily, but I think it'll add to it, and I think it'll be the whole thing about, if we're talking, is AI and companionship and stuff. Like, I think AR is a very, very big, gonna be a very, very big part of that. The thing of feeling that someone else is present. Everywhere where you need that, AR is gonna be a very big thing.
Have you seen anyone who has done like a ChatGPT integration into an AR character and then added some voice to that feels realistic?
No, I haven't seen that. I've seen it like on Skyrim or something, but I haven't seen it in AR. But I can very easily sort of, it's a guide, right? Like, it's you can talk with. There's a lot of that being done on sort of many platforms right now, like it's the chatbot basically, right? Just in AR.
Yeah, that's for anyone listening, that's today's business idea. Somebody go and do that. go create the AI companion. No, but I think it's interesting how a couple of years ago the game industry sort of like overtook Hollywood as the main, like people were spending more time on games than they were on just streaming, and
Yeah.
so that again talks to that argument of, do people want to interact with storytelling or do they want to just consume? Because the numbers are saying, yeah.
People want to interact with games. People and then some games can have storytelling, and storytelling puts a layer on top of that. But as someone who's sort of, worked with an AI animation film, sort of starting out very interactive and just figuring out, well, it's first of all, it's mechanics. Whenever you have mechanics in something, mechanics rules. So you can have a really, really good story, but if the mechanics doesn't work together with the story, then people would most likely just rather watch the story, basically. So it's really, I think it's like storytelling works, but it's always if you have a mechanic of somehow. Then in watching a movie on your couch with your with your significant other, that's the mechanic. The mechanic is that you are sitting in a couch this far away from the screen, right? And that mechanic works really well for just watching a screen, right? But if you're up and about, then all of a sudden you have another mechanic. That's another mechanic, and then you have to fit your storytelling to that. But still, like that mechanics rules, because it's like, well, at some point you get tired, you want to sit down,
Yeah.
Or too much. Like it's raining. I'm inside. There's a lot of sound from screaming kids, like in a mall, or there's and it's So sadly, like storytelling is really what sucks us in. But what I think is sort of on a conscious layer, like first of all, you need the mechanic to work. Yeah.
I think you're right, and I always like when I go do like keynote talks about augmented reality, I always joke that there's a very natural limitation to the length of a mobile-based augmented reality experience, and that ties back to the size of your guns. Because if if the experience is like 10 minutes long or something, you literally can't hold your phone out for that long. So the more fitness people do, the longer AI experiences they can engage with. But I think that's probably the main limitation to at least mobile-based augmented reality is just the ergonomics of it. Is not ready for longer stories. Like a movie is easily 2 hours long. It's trending towards 3 hours for some of the new Hollywood movies, which to me is way too long. But imagine having to hold a phone for 3 hours straight like this. It would be good exercise.
The glasses will change that, but that's why everybody wants the real AR glasses, right? Which we're just not gonna have yet because the technology is not there yet.
Yeah,
like it's coming.
And
it takes a long time to make things very small and light and very convenient at the same time.
yeah, I think we also need the use cases. Like, okay, if you had, let's say you had the perfect AR glasses like tomorrow, perfect screen resolution, infinite battery length, infinite processing power, everything is just like perfect. And you get to invent the first use case, like the first thing that they should do. What should your AR glasses do?
I'm very sorry, but the first thing they would do, first thing, which they are already selling some pre-AR glasses for this, like replace my screens.
Yeah,
convenience, basically the convenience of, if I have the perfect AR glasses, right? The convenience of I'm just taking up some glasses, and now I have the possibility to move wherever I want, and my screens are just gonna conveniently follow me and place themselves where it's convenient for me. It's going to be extremely easy for me to guide them for whatever. Again, it comes, I think, selecting a medium to work with, it comes a lot down to people's sort of laziness, right? It's like we're like mammals, right, and predators, right, and basically that's every sort of predator will do whatever is the least amount of effort they can to get the results of what they want, right? They wanna. That's why you can train birds to to catch the food and stuff, right? Because like, well, I get free food, then I can, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
maybe I'm going off the link here, but sorry.
So infinite screens. I guess you can have that. Did you see those? I can't remember the name of the brand, but somebody just released a new laptop that doesn't have a screen. So it's just like a keyboard and some processing power, and then you put on the glasses, and you can have big screens. It's like to me, it just feels kind of boring. It's like
It is kind of boring, but if you then can, okay, so that's the first feature. That would be screens, right? I need things 2D because
the second feature has to be cooler. Remember?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Then the second feature would be, which Google and like Facebook and everybody is working on, is that I have to talk with you here. I just want you here in 3D.
Yeah,
right? That would be the second feature.
Like co-presence, like a Skype.
Again, it's about getting having sort of togetherness experience together. That is, I think, which is, by the way, I think a very underestimated or like valued part of AR is the part of experience things together. Also because it's been like annoying to do, and we need these cloud anchors and stuff. But there are new technologies coming along, like Labs and stuff, for instance, is working on it, where you can just easier make shared AR experiences. I think that has a lot, that I can watch the same thing as you together, and I like, being present together like that.
Yeah,
that's.
I think there's some beautiful about the killer app of AR being other people. That's kind of cute in many ways. What's the best like co-presence AR experience you have tried? Because I haven't tried a co-presence AR experience. I've only tried with VR, and I remember this very vividly. It must have been back in 2018, I think, when we were hosting. Before I did Hololink, I was working at a conference, for a conference called CopenX, and I remember we were going to have a talk with Philip Rosedale, the founder of Second Life, and I've never met him in real life, but I've met him once in VR, and I think he's actually the only guy that I've only met in VR and not in real life. But I just remember so clearly, like, the feeling of being with someone, like in the same room with someone, but virtually. That was quite a transformative experience. But have you tried anything like that, but in augmented reality?
I mean, in augmented reality, I tried some of the new. No, I've tried it with recorded characters. Like there is some on the what's it called, the App Lab, the pass-through thing you can do with Quest now, right?
Yeah.
There is some App Lab Quest-through experiences, amongst other, like a music experience actually, where you can jam with a guy, and then like the guy is already, and it's a very, very simple character, but you can jam together with him. So it's a music program, right? And you can play these weird instruments, but he's playing his instrument. He's sort of starting, and now okay, I'm not jamming myself. Like I'm jamming together with this dude, and he's in my room, right?
Yeah.
that actually, yeah, that's pretty cool. And there will come more and more of that. I'm very sure.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I think I've tried like a dating experience actually in VR from there was another Danish company called Bolværk Games who showed me like an early prototype. I think they turned it into a reality program actually for Danish national radio later on. But that was also, yeah, there's something weird about meeting someone virtually. Like, of course I've tried it in video games like, I don't know, Counter Strike and League of Legends or whatever. But in those cases, you're not really meeting people. I think that's also why we have so much like hate speech in the comments, because it's not a real person, but it's sort of like a mirror of a real person. But when you're meeting someone in VR, it feels kind of real. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I think you're right that probably one of the killer apps of AR is going to be other people. I think for me, if I got the perfect AR glasses tomorrow, I would use them for biking, just biking around Copenhagen, because it's always so annoying when I'm biking and I'm going somewhere new, and I have the directions on my phone with Google Maps or whatever, and then every time I need to figure out where to turn, I need to sort of stop and then and for everyone who's seen this in real life, I'm sorry, but I have to sort of stop and get the phone out and then look at it and maybe get the directions and then put it back in my pocket. And sometimes I'm doing this without stopping on the bike and it's crazy, and it's probably a major security hazard, but just having that in glasses would be amazing. It doesn't have to have any tracking or anything, but just a heads-up display would be great, I think.
Yeah, I think we're probably not very far from having that, because you don't need the perfect AR glasses to have that, because that's basically just, you need some SLAM that sort of finds the road and where things are, and then you need 2D graphics, so you can run it on a very small processor.
Yeah, that's probably right. So that's good. That's one use case that we are actually not that far from. Finally, something we're getting there.
Yeah, starting to make it in cars, where you just have it on your on your car window.
Yeah, that's quite cool. What would you say is the best AI experience from a storytelling perspective that you have tried?
From an AR point of view, that's the thing. That's really not a lot. No, but it's the best AR experience storytelling. I think, that must be Wonderscope.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wonderscope did some things that sort of, those are entertaining, and also they're really good at making you move around, like watching this little interactive storytelling, and you need to sort of collect stuff, and
but that's like 3 or 4 years ago, right? Wasn't it that company, Chris Milk and the other guys who went on to do that fitness VR app that was supposed to get acquired by Facebook, but then the US government sort of blocked it, and then they didn't.
I think it went through in the end.
It did went through. Okay, cool. But
I didn't know there was 10 guys.
But you haven't seen a better AR storytelling experience since Wonderscope from what, 2018 or something?
Not AR, no. I can't. But as I say, like maybe the music game, I should be able to, because it is actually a storytelling experience. That's called. I can. I can. Can't remember. Anyways, but maybe that. But still, I would say that Wonderscope was really good, and they had like. I don't know if it still exists actually.
No. But okay, so what is needed from like a tool stack perspective in order to beat that? Because hopefully we have a lot of AR creators listening to this, and they all have access to Hololink, great platform, and maybe also Marinette. At least you're better, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So for AR storytellers, what is needed, do you think, to beat Wonderscope?
I think, well, something like Hololink is actually a good start.
Mm?
And the reason is, I think the reason why it's like Wonderscope didn't get further than they did. I don't know if they still sort of are doing experiences, to be fair, but I haven't heard about it for a long time. Is that it's just expensive and hard to make content, right? And that's what Hololink is about, right? Is to make it easy to. I actually had an idea of a thing where we should maybe try together with just having a character that sort of is able to do what I call magic PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Basically, just to have the power of a guy, someone who's telling a story, is at a location and then while they're telling, things are being illustrated with cool 2D graphics that sort of animates in and out between each other and stuff. Or fills the room in different ways, but I think so. Yeah. So really, to beat, it's really the accessibility of just being able to make your story, and that's why I actually think that Hololink is very cool.
And do you have any advice for people who might want to do that? How do you go about? And this might be a big question, but how do you even go about designing or creating a story through AR? Like, what would be some of the first steps that you would need to take?
You gotta figure out your mechanics.
And what do you mean by that?
Okay, so back to what is a mechanic. Mechanic is basically, just to start with, it's how you experience what you have to do to interact with the experience that you are engaging with. And as I say, the mechanic of watching a streaming series, for instance, is I lie on my couch, the TV is that far away from me, and I probably push the buttons on my phone to stream to my Chromecast or something, right? That's the mechanic of that experience. With AR, you have more people can move and all these things that we've talked about. So you figure out your mechanics to start with. Then when you have figured out your mechanics, then figure out your story. When you figure out, it would be cool if people, they can do this. It would be cool if people, they can do that. And people and you sort of test, and that is kind of fun to do. Whatever you go over and you collect stuff. That's fun. Or, you go over, you push something, or you shoot something, or whatever you do. You have to dance around yourself. I don't know. But when that's sort of settled, then you can go, oh, cool. Maybe we should have some characters in there. What would it be cool that they say? And should they say it to each other, or should they say it to you? Right? And then you can sort of build from there. Then you can start building story. Yeah.
So actually, storytelling is the last thing you do. You start with mechanics and what you're able to do and the characters.
That is my hard-earned experience, yes. Because I have always started from the other point of view, right? And I have to figure out, no, that doesn't it. Your mechanics has to work before your story works, because if your mechanics doesn't work, then you don't really have anything. And it's really just from a time perspective, because it takes a long time to get a good story, or depending on how deep of the story has to be, and it's very hard to change a story when it's good, basically. So when you actually have a good story, it's very hard to go maybe we should put some other mechanics in there, and then no, that doesn't work with the story, right? But we're locked into these mechanics because we sort of we're locked into this story, and we can't sort of change the mechanics, even though that the mechanics that works for this story is not really working. Like it's very hard to change because the story wants those mechanics, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And is that also from a technical perspective? It just sucks when you dream up an idea of a story that you want to tell with certain mechanics, and then you start working with the tools, and you realize that's not gonna happen. Is that a part of it as well?
Yeah, exactly. Like you kind of wanna figure out the technical stuff first, because I know a lot, like in the movie industry, it's very different. Like you always go the other way. And it's very expensive to go the other way, and that's why people do so many storyboards and stuff, because like it's not expensive to sort of change a storyboard. It's very expensive to change this big scene where you have 100 people on a set recording, and getting ready to do these special effects that needs to be done afterwards. But if you don't do all the things right now, that while you're recording, like you can't do the special effects afterwards, or it's going to take 10 times as long to do it. Right.
Yeah.
So, but because, and I'm going to say this, like AR is a game, like it's not like just a narrative story medium. Like it can't be.
Yeah, it's not linear.
There's no reason why I should just watch, because that's watching like this. Like, why should I do that? If I'm not moving, why am I not just watching a video? Right.
Yeah. Cool. I think that's hopefully some good advice for any AR storytellers out there.